What's up guys, it's Tom here and welcome to breaking news. Manchester City have been banned for 2 full years from the Champions League and also fined for 30 million euros. This is one of the most serious and one of the biggest bans in world football right now, and they have been banned because of financial fair play rules, breaking them, and also accounting fraud. So this is very serious because accounting fraud is actually a criminal offense, and Manchester City could also face points deduction from the Premier League, because the Premier League, not many people know this, the Premier League also have a financial fair play rule which is a little bit less strict than UEFA's financial fair play rules, FFP, but the Premier League also has it, and the Premier League basically needs papers submitted to them which are similar to UEFA's financial fair play rules submission. So I think that Manchester City could face even further repercussions, and in this video you will hear all the details that you need to know about the case, about why Manchester City was banned, what it could mean for Pep Guardiola, for the players, for the Manchester City's future, and also for this season. It's very significant because now if the Court of Arbitration of Sport reject the appeal, which I think there is a very high chance, because UEFA wouldn't sanction Manchester City with such a big, severe punishment unless the case was watertight and unless the UEFA really looked through this and they were certain that Manchester City were guilty beyond any doubt. And I think that is the case because of course Manchester City will appeal this decision, and we have to wait until the Court of Arbitration for Sport will decide to whether to uphold the ban or reduce it, or maybe half the 2 years to 1 year. That is a possibility as well. But I think that if they upheld the ban, at least for next season, then the 5th place will qualify for the UEFA Champions League next season. So Sheffield United, in theory, could qualify for the Champions League. But now the season of Tottenham, Manchester United, Wolves, Arsenal got a lot more interesting and exciting. And this season I thought it couldn't get any better for Liverpool fans, but it just did, because both Liverpool and Manchester United fans were celebrating the news which broke yesterday evening, and I read a lot up on this news. So let's first dive into what the ban actually is. So for 2 seasons Manchester City are banned from the Champions League and from the Europa League, so for all UEFA competitions, and also they are fined for 30 million euros, which is like 25 million pounds, for not only breaching seriously UEFA's financial fair play and club licensing regulations, but also for failing to cooperate with the investigation, which is also a very serious crime. And I think the accounting fraud is also very serious allegation, which, if it's proven that it's true, I think that there could be some criminal cases as well, because accounting fraud is a criminal offense which could be punished by jail time. So I think that this is a lot more serious than just UEFA banning Manchester City for 2 seasons. There could be some individuals actually going to jail for these offenses, which I think is very serious. So in a statement, UEFA said that Man City overstated its sponsorship revenue in its accounts in the break-even information submitted to UEFA between 2012 and 2016. So from 2012 to 2016, Man City basically cooked the accounting books. They inflated the sponsorship numbers, they manipulated the accounts, and I think that is very serious. And also I feel very sorry for Brendan Rodgers and the whole Liverpool team, which got so close in the 2013-14 season, but ultimately failed to win the title and finished second to Manchester City, because Manchester City won the title that season by cheating. It's now official. They are cheaters, and Man City should be stripped of those Premier League titles or those League Cup titles, FA Cup titles, all the titles that they won in that time, in that period. They should be stripped and awarded to the team who they faced in the cup finals, or to the team who they faced in the Premier League, who finished second in the Premier League. The Manchester City were also found guilty of failing to cooperate in the investigation, and they will be banned from Europe for next season and 2 seasons from now. So this season, it doesn't affect Manchester City. They can still compete against Real Madrid in the Champions League, and it would be just the funniest story if Man City won the Champions League this season. But I think that Pep Guardiola's future is also seriously in question. What will he do? But even if Man City are banned from the Champions League, I mean, if the decision is upheld in court, then still I feel there is a good chance that Guardiola will stay at Man City, because he previously said that he will stay at Man City for next season, as Guardiola is a man of his word. And it's a very, very serious and very bad PR news for Manchester City, because they tried to paint themselves as the good guys for so many years, but this now proves beyond doubt that they are just cheating, lying frauds. And I think that Guardiola's reputation will be seriously in question as well, because so far, you know, basically 1 year ago, when this investigation started, Guardiola said that he was 100% certain Man City won't be banned, because the owners and the Man City board assured Guardiola that there is nothing wrong with their accounts, there is nothing illegal going on. And now Guardiola must seriously face the consequences, I think, because he defended basically the owners there, which is understandable because the owners pay his salary and everything, but he was wrong. Man City got banned, and now Guardiola, his reputation will be in question as well. And Man City released a statement saying that Manchester City disappointed but not surprised by the announcement. The club has always anticipated the ultimate need to seek out an independent body and process to impartially consider the comprehensive body of the evidence in support of its position. Man City are fuming, and their statement clearly states, it says that they will fight this with every lawyer and everything that they have, and they have a lot of money, so they will probably hire the most expensive and the best lawyers in the business to fight this. But it doesn't deter from the fact that these titles that Man City won throughout all these years, you know, titles won by cheating, and that is a serious issue which they now have to face, because I think that Manchester City's name has been now through the mud, and they will be forever tainted, these titles, in my opinion. But let me know what you think. Of course, if you are a Man City fan, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you are another club's fan, other than Man City, what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy these types of videos, leave a like. It really helps me out. It shows me that you enjoy my videos. And Man City are firing back at UEFA, because they are saying in their statement, and that this is like going on the attack now, that in December 2018 UEFA chief executive investigator publicly previewed the outcome and sanction he intended to be delivered to Manchester City before any investigation had even begun. So they are accusing the investigator of already making his mind up. But the problem with this statement is that everybody with half a brain or half a common sense could see from a million miles away that Manchester City are cooking their books, are getting sponsorship deals that are inflated beyond a doubt, because Manchester City was a bottom half club in the Premier League before they have been taken over. They didn't have the fan base of even Tottenham. They had a fan base where, you know, they couldn't even fill sometimes their stadium, their own stadium, for a Champions League night, and they don't have fans worldwide, or at least they didn't have fans worldwide before this all this money came into the club. So how come they could get sponsorship deals where they could spend 700 or 800 million pounds in like 8 years or 9 years? How could they spend this amount of money without the owners artificially pumping a lot of money into the club? It's just everybody with half a brain could see that for a million miles. So that's why I don't get why Manchester City are saying that the investigator made his mind up, because like everybody could see that this is happening. Basically, Man City are confirming in their statement that they will appeal and go through proceedings with the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which is a CAS as the initials are standing for that, and they will just appeal this decision until they exhausted every possible legal avenue. This is a very, very dangerous road for Manchester City to go down towards, because UEFA wouldn't have banned Manchester City for 2 years unless this case was beyond doubt watertight, and they probably talked this over with many big lawyers when they looked through the case, because they surely knew that Manchester City will appeal the decision. So it will be very interesting how this acts out, and I think that the CAS will have to do this very quickly, much quicker than they usually do, because the Champions League next season is coming very soon. The season is finished, and then the Champions League qualifiers will start in the summer, and until then the decision needs to be finalized whether the decision is upheld by the Court of Arbitration for Sport or not, whether the Man City will be allowed back to compete in the Champions League, or whether Manchester City will be just banned for 1 year or for 2 years. Because imagine if let's say Sheffield United finishes in 5th place and the decision is still not taken whether Man City will be banned from the Champions League or not next season. I mean, Sheffield United surely has to know whether they compete in the Europa League or in the Champions League, how much money are they getting next season. So this whole legal process needs to be over very quickly, and the cost for Manchester City will be much bigger than the £25 million fine that they have to pay, because for the next 2 years they could lose revenue in excess of £300 million, and also they could lose some of their best players. They could lose Pep Guardiola, and also Manchester City are in the process of having to rebuild their squad. Which big player would want to sign for Manchester City when they are known to be cheaters, and also that they are known to be out of the Champions League for 2 years? Which top player would want to go to Manchester City when their financial accounts are very wobbly right now, and there is no certainty at the club? And which top player would want to play for Manchester City without European football for 2 years? So this is a very serious issue for Manchester City, in my opinion, and they have to be probably pretty devastated, but this is their own making. They can't blame anybody else for this but themselves and the owners, the way that they wanted to pump money into the club too soon, and too much too soon. I think it's very evident, very clear. And also the other huge question, what will happen to Pep Guardiola? Guardiola is under contract at Manchester City until the end of next season, and he even hinted many times that if Man City want to extend his contract, he is delighted to stay at the club. But of course those statements came before this ban was announced by UEFA. So now you have to question, will Guardiola want to stay at Man City and rebuild them on a limited funds, on a limited budget, and also without European football? That will be probably his greatest challenge yet. But I think Guardiola wants nothing more than to prove to the doubters that he can win the Champions League without Messi, because one of the biggest arguments against Pep Guardiola being the greatest manager in world football is that he has never managed to win the Champions League without Messi. He had never managed to win the Champions League with Bayern Munich and even though he went to a Champions League winning squad at Bayern Munich, they won the Champions League the season before Guardiola went there. He never managed to even come close to winning the Champions League with Manchester City. Yes, they were in the semi-finals one time against Real Madrid, but I think that time Guardiola wasn't the Man City manager, sorry. And since then, Guardiola never went to the semi-finals. It might be very hard for him to separate himself emotionally from boardroom events at Manchester City, because one of his closest friends, Ferran Soriano, is the man who is very instrumental in bringing Guardiola to Manchester City. He is actually the chief executive officer, and he is basically in charge of commercial strategy at Manchester City. They are very close friends. They know each other from the time at Barcelona and also from Spain. So I think that it's a big question. What is Guardiola's mindset going to be like? Will his decisions be motivated by loyalty, by friendship, or by disappointment? And basically, if Guardiola wants to save his reputation, he probably needs to leave Manchester City, because this court case could go on for next year as well, next season as well, easily. So I think that if Guardiola wants to save his reputation, he probably needs to leave Manchester City. But if he doesn't, and he stays at Man City, and they keep getting banned, keep being banned from the Champions League, it will be a huge challenge for Guardiola. What kind of players will he be able to sign? Will he be able to keep the players like Kevin De Bruyne, like Raheem Sterling, like Bernardo Silva, like Gabriel Jesus, Aguero, Leroy Sané? And Man City could go the route of how Chelsea did when they had a transfer ban. I mean, Man City doesn't have a transfer ban, but signing players without Champions League football, even when you have a lot of money like Man City, it's quite difficult. And especially, will players want to move on if they know 100% no Champions League football for 2 years? That's a big question, because I mean, Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, Bernardo Silva, these players are in the prime of their careers. They have quite a limited number of years capable of playing in the Champions League and capable of trying to win the Champions League. And already Liverpool fans are saying, Kevin De Bruyne, come over to Liverpool, let's win the Champions League together. Of course, that is a quite tongue-in-cheek statement, but stranger things have happened in football than that. That's for sure. And now I want to talk to you guys about the background of how Manchester City's transfer ban came about and why it came about. Football Leaks is the website that exposed a huge amount of corruption in European football. Rui Pinto, who is now sitting in jail in Portugal for almost a year now, is the man who hacked into top clubs' servers, and he obtained an incredible 70 million different documents in world football, into top football, and he has an incredible amount of data that was leaked to the press, to the media, and Football Leaks, the website, came about. And I think I will actually dedicate a whole video to this, because it's a very interesting, very fascinating topic, and I want to dive deep into what actually is the reason and what are the details of why and how Manchester City breached and financial fair play, how they cooked their accounts, how they attempted to, not just attempted, but did actually commit accounting fraud, which is a very serious criminal offense. And I can't stress this enough. This is a fascinating topic to talk about, and very interesting how you can have some really shady business going on in the world of football, because everywhere where there is a lot of money involved, there are some shady people who are trying to get as much money as possible to themselves and to their organization. So I think that is a very interesting topic to probably dedicate a separate video to this, because it deserves a a deep dive into this topic. So I will actually do this video in 2 parts, so stay tuned. I think I will make a separate video on this topic probably tomorrow as well, while this topic is hot. I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Thanks for watching, see you later, goodbye.